good morning, and good morning again. Listen, it is Saturday morning, and we're going hard in for 60 minutes. We don't have not 1 minute to waste. We're saying good morning to you. Come on in, all of our Facebook fam. We're just delighted. I see so many of you already online. This is amazing. Want to just say welcome this morning to all those of you on our Facebook Live channel. I'm telling you right now, our God is awesome. To be able to have a presence on social media this time a year ago wasn't even possible. So I'm going to say thank you. First of all, Father, it's a good place for me to say thank you. Welcome to our YouTube channel, family and friends. We're saying to you as well, come on in. We're delighted today to have all of you. Boy, do we have a broadcast for you today. We're excited. We're going to ask you to get your paper and your pens out as we go hard in, just doing some straight up real talk. This is not for no kids. This is not for no babies. This is a time set aside with some real talk about some real conversations. And I'm telling you right now, you're going to be blessed today. I know, because I've done some preparation behind the scenes. We're ready today. Again, listen, welcome to our Facebook Live family. All those of you who are tuning in on our YouTube channel, let's get at it. We've got a lot to cover this morning, and I can't wait to be able to empower, educate, and expose. There's the 3 E's right there. We're going in today. So we always try to give a very brief review of our past weeks. And so I want to ask the IT team to put up our session that tells you how to join us. It's going to be important for you. You might have somebody else that you are saying, I know somebody who's having some relationship challenges. This is a broadcast cut out just straight for them. Listen, you can join us again on Facebook Live. You see it right there. You can also go to our YouTube channel. Can you believe it? I am a living testament that if you make one step, our Father will make two. I didn't even have a YouTube presence at all a year ago this time, but guess what? Through prayer and persistence, I'm telling you right now, God continues to show himself mighty. It's a testament. If he did it for me, he can do it for you too. Our God doesn't have any respect of people. And then you have a telephone number. You can dial us as well. If you just tuning in and you don't have internet, no worries. We got you covered. 605-313-6308. There you have it. You can get our line connected there. Listen, this is real talk. We're doing some real coaching series around life's issues. Can I tell you, life has all types of issues that come at us. No worries, because the reality is there's always a way out. God has given us a way of escape. You just have to talk about it. Quit trying to hold it in. Quit trying to take it and try to do it all by yourself. This is a series and a broadcast set aside just for life's issues. Now, we have about 4 things that we try to cover addressing life's issues. I want to say again, this is straight talk, real, honest, robust conversation. And then again, you can also join us. If you have issues, you're going to see the registration link down at the bottom. We can send you some of these documents. Listen, they're for you. We've searched them out for you already, and we want you to be able to keep those in mind. You can register, tell us what's on your mind. Listen, not only do we talk about the topics that we have searched out, but you can say, hey, listen, Williams, I got a life issue and I need some help with it right here. Let's talk about it on your broadcast. Let's have some real conversation about it. All you got to do, you see the link at the bottom, bit.ly/real talk your voice. All you got to do, send that topic in. We're going to get at some of that today because some of you have already sent in some conversations. But the good news is it's already wrapped into our session today. I want to tell you one more time, do me a quick favor. If you hear something you like, just hit that like button. It's your way of communicating with us. And guess what? If you hear something that blesses you, I want to know who you are. If you'll just type amen, Sister Marlo, good morning. You see how I shouted out Sister Marlo? I'll do you the very same way. That's exactly right. I got all kind of energy. I'm just glad to be found on the wake up list this morning. God is a good God. And so I'm going to ask you to send us an amen or good morning or something. That'll let us know who you are. God is looking for some bold soldiers, and we love to give you a shout out. And then finally, we're going to ask you to do us, hit that share button. If you got somebody, you can do it this morning. You can say, listen, I want to get you exposed to some real coaching sessions around life's issues. Good morning, Sister Ethel Frederick, all the way from Virginia this morning. I'm telling you right now, let's get at it. We're going to go down, and we want to just be able to show you how God is in the business of healthy, happy relationships. If you're looking for healthy, happy relationships, these 60 minutes are designed with you in mind. So let's go ahead and put the PowerPoints up. We'll walk right through them because we're going to do a quick review, and then we'll go on until the sessions for today. We're going traveling down this journey for 9 weeks. This is week number 4. We started out talking about this thing called love. What is it? What's it all about? And how does it affect me? Well, then we talked about Jesus' love sends us. Can I tell you something? When you get this love, it'll make you do something. Sister Patricia Drumgo, good morning, all the way from Warrenton, North Carolina. I'm just happy to see you, a committed viewer today. And then we also talked week number 3 about Jesus' love speaks to us. Do you see the relative pronoun? It's us. We're talking about how we can have healthy, happy relationships. And I'm telling you right now, I'm tired of God's people living beneath their privilege. I'm tired of us living from up today and down tomorrow because we don't have proper tools to help us manage relationships. Now, keep in mind, we're going to be talking about relationships that you can apply it to a marriage relationship. You can apply it to a family relationship. You can apply it to a friend relationship, a work relationship, a personal relationship, and oh yes, you can apply it to a spiritual relationship. So don't get it twisted now. This is not just about some eros love, just about a romantics only, because there's different ways that we can express this love. Next slide, please. This series about looking for love in all the wrong places. Now, this series is based on 1 Corinthians chapter 13. You see the verse there, 1 through 13, but our key verse is in verse number 13. Look at what it says. And now abideth faith, hope, and charity. These 3, but the greatest of these is charity. When you look into the New Standard Version, it says that the greatest of these is love. And so guess what? Everything that we do has something to do with love. We just got to be able to figure out how to make the connection. Next slide, please. And then as we move from there, what we're trying to find out also is how this session is applied to us as individuals. And so next slide, please. Amen. We're trying to get our slides. Okay, let's go with this. We try every week to try to tell you a little bit about how love is defined. Next slide, please. I want to say this to you. If you want to write anything down, here it is. Because so many people use this 4-letter word. But I'm trying to put some exposure on people using this 4-letter word. And look at what it says. It is possible to perform all sorts of duties for someone and feel little or nothing for them. Lord, have mercy. Who is it that I'm speaking to on today that you're saying, Williams, you're on my road? I know people. I've been in situations where people feel like, look at the second bullet point. Love is not about being a hired help. I don't know who I'm speaking to today, but you deserve better than that. God has more for you than for you to feel like you're just on somebody's payroll. Who am I speaking to? Just to cook some food, wash some dishes, sweep a floor. Oh no, I got news for you. There's more to a relationship, a healthy, happy relationship, than just being a hired help. And then love is not an obligation done with a cold soul. I talked to someone this week and they said, you know what, Williams, I had someone do something for me They said, but it was just like a mummy. The person had no expression, no feelings, no nothing. And I'm telling you right now that you deserve better than that. And at some point, you got to call that out and say, listen, I'm living beneath my privilege. I don't deserve for someone to do something for me and not have any emotion to it at all. And then the last one is the feeling must be wedded to a deed. There it is right there. Everything we're going to be talking about in this series is circled around that gold bullet at the bottom. Talk is cheap, my grandmama said, but it takes money to buy land. Who am I speaking to on this day? Next slide, please. And so we're going to go through these slides pretty fast because we've already gone through these. I need to get to a particular place in the presentation. So I'll take the next slide, please. All right. What is this feel-good hormone? We talked about that already, that everybody, this God we serve, develop a feel-good hormone. Next slide, please. All of us have it. Amen. And so did you know that there are two, I want you to look at it, hormones. Dopamine, one of those feel good. Like, did you know that when you feel good, that your body, God designed it to release a dopamine? Ooh, and I say today, when was the last time your body released a dopamine? And if you haven't, you're living beneath your privilege. God desires and designed you for such a thing. And then this other term, norepinephrine. Ooh, let me tell you about that one. That's that one that makes your heart race and gives you extra energy. Listen. I'm trying to tell you right now that God designed us, the master designed us with this extra hormone. And guess what? It burns fat, increases blood sugar levels. And next slide, please. And then guess what? They call it the love sick syndrome. That's why people have a lower appetite, experience insomnia. I know folks that, oh, I felt so good with the person that I'm in my relationship with. I can't even sleep at night. Oh, I don't even be eating. Who am I speaking to? Listen, if you've ever been there, you ought to just type in the chat, you're on my road. This is the kind of benefits that when you get the real love and you're not looking for it in the wrong place. Next slide. You'll be able to find out that there are some benefits in being in a healthy, happy relationship. We talked about some Greek words. Next slide, please. We're going to just go through this pretty fast because these are on the YouTube channel. You can go and look those up. We went in great detail. Here are the 8 Greek words for the word love: eros, ludus, philautia, maraka, philia, pragma, mania, and agape. We talked about that last one. Next slide, please. And the summation of that is the eros is a sexual passion, philia is a brotherly deep friendship, ludus is a crushy kind of playful love, maraka is a love where you're creating things, cooking together, playing together, listening to music together. Next slide, please. These are all on the YouTube channel. You can go back and review all those. We have a destination we're trying to get to today. And so again, you look down at the bottom, is that last one, agape. It is unconditional. You don't deserve it, but God gives it to you. And quite frankly, only God can apply that type of love, because as humans, we typically have our love associated with something. Next slide, please. We talked about the 5 love languages as well. Listen, if you're in a relationship and you don't know your love language, my friend, you are living beneath your privilege and you're not able to make communication. I use this example all the time. I travel out of the country, and guess what? When I go to a place and they speak Spanish and I don't know how to speak Spanish, let me tell you something. They may be saying something wonderful to me, but I can't even say thank you because I don't even know what they're talking about. And so it is right here in our broadcast arena. People are trying to tell people they love them, but they don't know the language to speak to say the love on how you speak. Next slide, please. And so what we found out is that these loves are, there are 5. Dr. Gary Chapman talked about it. Words of affirmation, quality time, acts of service, physical touch, and receiving gifts. We talked about all 5 of those. You should know. Next slide, please. which one of these. We'll go right past that as well because we've covered that. This is on the YouTube channel. Down at the bottom is a link I want you to pay close attention to, that if you've not taken that quiz, you should definitely go there. I've had several listeners text me and say, Dr. Williams, I now know what my love language is. Wonderful, I said. So now you can communicate. And then you should try to figure out, if you're in a relationship with someone, what their language is. They can take the quiz as well. Next slide, please. And so here, let it go. This is where we stopped at last week, and this is where I want to pick up at again. So here we have it. This book that this particular information is coming from is a book by Bishop T.D. Jakes called Let It Go. Next slide, please. We talked about that in relationships, there are so many people who are trying to figure out about this recovery rate. We're going to talk about that just a little bit more today, because that was the end of last week's session. And we also have these wounded warriors. Woo! You know them, you've seen them, you've been in relationships with them. Listen, they still carrying wounds from a past relationship. Who am I speaking to on today? And I'm telling you, you deserve better. And guess what? If a person can't move from that wounded warrior syndrome, then guess what? You need to leave them right where you left them. Next slide, please. Yes, I'm talking straightforward talk. Listen, we talked about last week about a man who was a doctor named Dr. Conrad Murray. He was a cardiologist who looked after Michael Jackson, and the fact is that he never meant in his hearings to harm Michael Jackson. Next slide, please. But what we found, that the jury found him guilty, not because he intentionally did it, but it was an accident, but he still had to be held accountable. And that's what I'm telling people. You're in relationships. When you get these wounds, I'm telling you right now, the truth of the matter is people need to be held accountable for their actions. And as we saw, many people, they wear these badges of honor around. They call them wounded veteran war badges. You've seen them. You talk to them for a moment, and the moment you talk to them, they try to take you down in the valley with all this negativity. But here's the thing we found out: friendly fire. That is simply to say that sometimes the people that hurt you had no real intention on hurting you. They actually were what we call have a deficit on the inside of themselves. Lord have mercy. I'm talking good to somebody. Listen, they're empty on the inside, and as a result of their own emptiness, they hurt those that are connected to them. Listen. You ought to be assessing the people that you are connected to and asking yourself, this hurt that I'm carrying, is this a result of some friendly fire? Next slide, please. Because what we found is many of these people who are carrying around these wounded warrior badges, what we find is sometimes they themselves become victims of their own past. And so we're trying to figure out how to put all this into perspective. Next slide, please. We're trying to put all this into perspective, but we end up being on this battleground of unforgiveness. Let me just stop for a moment and put a quarter in the meter and tell somebody that you ultimately become collateral damage from somebody who's not whole themselves. This is what I wanted to talk about in this battleground of unforgiveness. Can I talk to somebody today? I'm talking about some real straight talk. You can't help nobody when you broke yourself. Listen. The only way you can give somebody money is you got to have some yourself. And if you don't believe it, go down to Wells Fargo and try to get some money out of there. The only way you can give some money is you got to have some money. And what I have found so many times, my listeners, is that people are broken and they're trying to offer love, and it's only in a broken fashion. And let me help somebody real good. They say that hurt people hurt others. Oh, I know I'm talking good today. And the reality is that you're just a byproduct. You're just one result of what happens when a person puts their self-consumed interest before yours. You are the after effects, but the real problem is the person is too focused on their own selfish desires and happiness. Next slide, please. And so we have this recovery rate. This is what I wanted to talk about first. So you say, Williams, how then can I move from this place of brokenness, of fractions and fragmented? Listen, you've heard people say, this person broke my heart into a million pieces. And I want to talk to somebody today. This is a person now you're struggling, trying to find love, and this series is designed for you. You're trying to find love, but it's in the wrong places. Now, the manifestation of this recovery rate shows up like a container. It's what I said before. Look, the person that looks all well put together on the outside, watch this. They dress nice, smelling nice, walking nice, driving nice, and living nice. But can I talk to somebody on a Saturday morning? If you peel back that mask, you would find a person that is void, empty, and broken on the inside. And what I'm telling you is you can't offer wholeness if you don't have it yourself. I know I'm talking good on a Saturday morning. And so I'm telling you right now, God wants more for you, but you have got to put your flag in the ground and make a bold declaration. I ain't going down this path of up and down no more. God says I can have better. And guess what? I'm going to stand on that. Now listen, the next slide, please, because what we found in this recovery rate, what we found is real simple. Next slide. It's what we call the wounded warrior syndrome. We talked about Acts 3 and 6. There was a man in the Bible who was lame. Listen, he got some cousins in our viewing area, because we got some people as well who are lame. And the reality was, the man, if you read the text, he was asking for money, but what he really needed was to walk. There it is right there. What we tried to get somebody to understand last week is that many times, if you're not careful, you will be constrained in a relationship where somebody tells and gives you what they think you deserve. But oh, is there anybody that says 2022 is my year? I'm coming out of my past and I'm going to leave it back there, and my future looks very bright. Listen, my best days are ahead of me, simply because I'm going to stop letting people tell me what I deserve. Oh, child, listen, you don't deserve nothing but just a man. No, listen, what you can get a man, or you can get a husband. Listen, the choice is yours. I don't know who I'm speaking to today. Or you can get a wife, or you can get a woman. The choice is really yours. I'm saying on a Saturday morning, hear me clearly when I say, in a real talk session, quit letting people define what you deserve and what you need. This man was lame, and he had been accepting what they thought he should have so long, until when he met Jesus, he didn't even realize what he should be asking for. Next slide. And so I'm telling somebody today, start asking for what you need. Have yourself a talk with God. Who am I speaking to that will say, Williams, you on my road for sure now, because I'm tired of what people think I should need, and they're depriving me of what I need. So hurt people, we said this before, they typically hurt others, and you should know that. And if you've ever been the victim of someone whose weaknesses have left you feeling murdered in your heart, soul, or body, part of that healing process begins when you decide to let it go. We came today to tell you that many times the literature says most of those perpetrators who are inflicting the wound many times are wounded their own selves. Oh my goodness. I know I'm talking good on a Saturday morning. Next slide. So what does that mean? How to identify these wounded warriors? I hope you're taking notes on these groups here. Let's find out if you hanging out with one, or find out if that's you. Then your prayer ought to be to God. God, help me to let it go. Somebody ought to just type in the text, let it go. That's what we're trying to lift up today. You can't move forward until you let it go. Next slide, please. And so we said that there are three types of wounded warriors. There are three types. God bless you. My sister is on the line. Sister Daphne, you know I love you today. All the way in South Carolina. Look at God today. Listen, wounded warriors, there are three kinds. There are insulators, isolators, and also inhibitors. God bless you, Brother Derek, all the way down in Florida. I thank you for tuning in. Let's talk real quickly about those because we got another session we want to lay before you today. Next slide. So, which wounded warrior? These wounded warriors, the insulators, you know them. They got all these blankets around their heart. And no matter how much you try to get intimate, to be close to them, it always feels like they're kind of standoffish, like they don't never quite connect. You go to church, you've seen them in church as well. The preacher can't even much to say the benediction before they're shooting out the door, trying to make sure that don't nobody say nothing to them. You see them in marriages the same way. Listen, if you're an insulator, sometimes the literature suggests it's because you have this shield up because you say, I have been wounded and I don't want to deal with that no more. But I came to tell you there's a brighter day ahead, but you got to let it go. And usually these insulators with all these thick paddings around them, they walk around for an imagery like a baby sucking their thumb, tears running out of their eyes. It's only because they are grown up on the outside and a little baby on the inside. They've never really evolved to a place to where they can say, I'm letting it go. Next slide, please. So if you're an insulator, you're hanging out with an insulator, you ought to ask God to help you to let it go. Number one, insulators, thick pads all around them. And then we have these isolators. Ooh, I know some. When I said it, I had some names come across my mind. These people, they go out of their way to avoid a crowd. At least the insulators will be in the crowd, but they're still just disconnected. The isolators don't even want to be in the crowd. They'd rather be home, locked up, in an environment with nobody but just them themselves. And guess what? The truth of the matter is there's a song that says your body is here with me, but your mind is on the other side of town. These people who are isolators have been wounded to the point until where they have completely shut down. And no matter where you try to go, hey, you want to go out to? No, I don't want to go there. You want to go get this? No, I'd rather Uber it. Let them bring it to me. It is a suggestion that the person is trying to mask these internal hurts on the inside. And who am I speaking to? If you're having a problem integrating with people, if you're having problems trying to go out and socialize, listen, quit trying to mask it for something else. What I found is the literature says that these type people have a home security system. You know, the Brinks and ADT, where you got to put the little code in. These people have been isolated so long until when something good comes their way, they don't even know how to take the code off the alarm system, and they end up having good people driven away. God bless you. Sister Bay Williams, a classmate of mine, I'm telling you right now, there are good people. And I stopped by today to tell you that there might be your biggest blessing right in front of you, but you have got to ask God to help you to come out of that wounded warrior syndrome of being an isolator. And the reality is the blessing could be right in front of you, but you're too afraid and you've made that declaration. Oh, they hurt me, but ain't nobody else gonna make me go down that path and hurt again. Well, let me help you real good. I want to tell you something, that if you can ask God to help you to let it go, I declare unto you, your best days are ahead of you. Next slide, please. And so we're trying to talk about these insulators. We're trying to also talk about these isolators. And the next slide, please. After that, we'll find that you have what we call these inhibitors. Yes, these inhibitors. You know these inhibitors. I'm trying to get my slide advance for me to see if I can show you all so you all can see as well. The inhibitors. These inhibitors are people who are they upset about everything, and they're never wrong. It's always somebody else. I don't know who I'm speaking to today. You know them. You've been around, or some of you even got those type persons as partners. And the truth of the matter is, if I can get my slide to advance, I'm not sure why it's not going forward. I want to say to you that there are people who are inhibitors, and these inhibitors, they have an angry attitude, a disposition, that everything about them is negative, and it's always somebody else's fault. Who am I speaking to? And the reason why they're doing that is simply because it's a mask to keep from having to have that hurt exposed again. And they say, I'm not going to be exposed like this again. And so they become inhibitors. And these inhibitors are people who never really have anything positive to say. You say good morning, they say what's good about it. You say, listen, happy Monday, what's happy about it? So, the reality is these people are inhibitors. And these inhibitors, I need to tell you, stop so many people's progress. Now, can I tell you, I'm trying to get my slides to advance. I have them. Okay. Thank you for that. Inhibitors. Next slide, please. And so we have this wounded warrior solution. Here's the solution right here. If you're taking notes, this is what I want you to. We did not put a lot of emphasis on this last week, and this is where I wanted to pick up. A wounded warrior. If you are in one of those three categories, or if you have a partner who is in one of those three categories, I want you to listen to this. Like a patient recovering from a life-threatening automobile accident, we must push through our pain in order to return to a state of a healthy functionality. In other words, you have to make up in your mind that it happened. I can't change it. Listen, they did what they did, but my life is not going to be defined by their insecurities. Who am I speaking to on this broadcast today? You ought to receive this, and here is how you can move forward. The speed with which we recover from our wounds is directly connected to our awareness, what we're thinking of our own flaws and mistakes, and our willingness to move forward and risk again. Put in everyday terms, you can sit there and wallow in it. It's not going to change anything. This is real talk for real people who trying to seek out some healthy relationships. The reality is they done moved on and you still stuck on the problem. And so you have to ask yourself, at what speed do I want to turn the page and go on with the rest of my life? You can take it real slow. The choice is yours. You can maul over it every single day, and the world passes you by. This is real talk for real people about real life's issues. We give you a pass. One of the things I try to do as a leader, when I have people that have catastrophic situations that come at them, I give them what's called the 21 rule. Maybe you write this down today. The 21 rule says that it happened. I acknowledge that it happened. I can take 21 seconds and I can say, you know what? I ain't giving you no more of my time. It's 21 seconds. You can give 21 minutes to it. That means you carve 21 minutes out of your day and you say, I'm going to deal with this. I'm going to come up with a plan. And then after 21 minutes, I ain't dealing with this no more. This is real talk for some real people. Or you can take 21 days. Now you can see for yourself, the longer you give to the attention of it, the more it weighs into your own DNA. You can go 21 days, or you can go 21 months, or you can go 21 years. I know a lady, when I first came to Winston-Salem, she told me about she had been in this ugly, nasty divorce. And I was standing at the altar. She wanted prayer. It seemed to me like she had just gotten divorced yesterday. When I later talked with the lady, it had been some 25 years since she had been divorced. And what she failed to do was to let it go. And so there you have it. Next slide, please. And so those are the key takeaways around just being able to talk about life's issues, deal with them, and then put them in a place to where you're not having to have a what we call a flashback every single day. No, 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 no. You give it time, because we're human. We're not robots. And so you have to have time to process it. People process at different levels. But I'm telling you right now, somebody's going to be set free today. That the enemy and your haters want you to continue to keep this on your mind. But I stopped by to tell you that the good book says, as a man thinketh, so is he. And so the more you put it in your system and in your DNA, that listen, it happened. Listen, I got hurt by it, but the reality is my life is more than this one situation or this one person. And guess what? Every day will be a little bit brighter and a little bit easier. And in the end, you will be able to say, I let it go. And so I want to talk about 4 laws of love just real quickly. Next slide, please. I want to, good morning, Pastor McLeod as well. I'm glad to have you with us. I'm so grateful to the Sister Satchel. God bless you as well. Let's talk about 4 laws of love. I really wanted to bless somebody with this today because there are so many different ways in which we can express this thing called love. But I want to tell you there are 4 laws that govern love, and you need to know about them. Let's get at it right now. First of all is the law of priority. Look at this now. This is by a man named Jim Evans. He says that in the 4 laws of love, that he outlines the foundational pillars of the most sacred relationships on earth. Marriage. In a relationship, and maybe you're not married. Maybe you're engaged. Maybe you're trying to push towards it. But keep in mind, you can apply this principle to any type relationship. It applies to all of them, the 4 laws of love. Number 1, we'll learn the 4 simple laws of love that will inject new life. Listen to this, new purpose, because somebody needs to redefine your purpose. You're more than what they said you are. You will overcome that. This little situation will not define you. I'm speaking boldly because there is a path. The more you declare publicly that this too shall pass, and you don't give too much of your time to it, then you find out that it, as the old song, it will faintly grow dim into the past. And so somebody else is going to experience healing. Somebody else is going to experience excitement. And all these are benefits to a healthy, happy relationship. Number 1, the law of priority. You have to prioritize your communication. Ooh, Lord have mercy. Now listen, when you prioritize your communication, you can't microwave communication. Communication is pivotal to a healthy, happy relationship, and nothing can substitute for it. For example, there's nothing any more sweeter than for a person to communicate with you on words that you understand. And guess what? The sooner you communicate, the quicker you can get to the end result. Who am I speaking to? Quit putting it off for tomorrow, what you can do for today. If you're too busy to talk, then you have to find a way, another area in your life to sacrifice rather than sacrificing the relationship. Now, let me help you real good. For somebody needs to tie this to your family. Family matters. And when you have family issues, you have to figure out how to communicate, because the longer you let it go, can I help somebody on this line today? The worse and more entrenched the situation comes, and it becomes harder and harder for you to surmount that situation. And the person said, well, you should have told me that in the beginning. Well, yeah, I didn't. Okay. So now I got to, do double time to make up for the fact that I didn't communicate in a timely way. This first law of priority means our marriages and relationships have to be first priorities in every sense of the word. Who is it that can say on the line today that, you know what? I got to be honest with myself. I done had some things in front of this relationship, and no one is off kilter. Who can say that today? Because benefits start first with being real with ourselves. So first of all, you got to prioritize your communication in this law of priorities. And then you got to prioritize relationships. Ooh, let's talk about it for a moment. Every person has a place in a relationship. And I, as a faith leader, I've seen too many times where people, I've been sitting on the other side of my desk, and the real problem is that they got other people prioritized in the relationship. Who am I speaking to on today? That you just need to get a piece of paper out and do what we call an inventory. And you ought to figure out where your priorities are. Because for some, it's their children. They'll tell, listen, I know someone that told the person in their relationship that they'll never be equal to their children. And I said to the person, and you accepted that. Because what you have to tell people is, hey, I deserve better than that. And if you're going to tell me that somebody else is going to be in a better priority than me, then you just leave me right where you found me. This is real talk for some real people, because what we want to find out is, how do we move the needle to healthier, happier relationships? I want you to do some homework. Get out that blank sheet of paper, and I want you to write down the priorities. Who is top priority? Well, we know God should be first. Let me help somebody, because some people, the priority, the father, is way down on the end of the totem pole. And I'm asking you, if you want a healthy, happy relationship, it has to do with the right priorities. I had a person ask me in school one time, this was something for you to think about. They said to us as students, if you had a big dinner and you had all these people there, you had your grandson, you had your son, you had your husband, you had your father, and you also had your boss. In what order would you serve these people? Something for you to think about. Because all of us have this issue that we have to sort through on priorities and relationships. I got to move past this. Also, the first law of priorities is prioritize romance. Oh, this is for grown folks. This is not a session for folks who are not grown. Anything that isn't growing is static. Can I say that again? If it ain't growing, it's static. And listen, we have a term that anything dead need to be buried. I'm trying to tell you now. What I found out is, if it's static, it will eventually become dead. Yes, in other words, if it isn't growing, it's headed in the wrong direction. And I want to ask somebody today, in real talk, on a real talk session, is your romance, you say you're in a relationship, but is the romance headed downward or is it headed upward? This is real talk for real people. And guess what? Even in your romance with God, because can I tell you something right now? God inhabits the praises of his people. And when was the last time you romanced God and made him feel like they want nobody on this earth but him? There's a song that they sing, nobody like you, Lord. I want to tell you something right now. You have to prioritize your romance. And I came to tell you, if it's not growing, it's headed in the wrong direction. Therefore, when relationships stop growing and loses its focus and passion, mercy, it will grow worse over time. In other words, it only works if you work it. Ooh, I know I'm talking good, Williams. I know it. Romance only works if you work it. And I want to ask somebody today, are you working it or is it working you? That's another day's lesson. Next slide, please, because this is the first law of love. The second law is the law of pursuit. Now listen, the law of pursuit, from the very beginning, God has revealed to us the secret of staying in love. It's a 4-letter word, W-O-R-K. Who am I talking to today? You don't get no sabbaticals. I'm trying to put it in everyday terms. Listen, if you in a work relationship, I dare you to start working. If you start working, you will start seeing that relationship will start plummeting downward. I tell you right now, because it only works if you work it. Now listen, the mistake that causes marriages and relationships to begin a downward slide is not that it don't work, but it's the lack thereof. When you slack off and say they'll understand, then I'm telling you, you're setting yourself up to work against the law of pursuit. Taking each other for granted. I'm telling you, this is right here is a reality check. Taking each other for granted and trying to coast through life. Who is it? Listen, today, somebody need to take your relationship off autopilot. You need to take it off of cruise control, because on cruise control, you don't have to do anything. It just works for you. But the truth of the matter is you only get what the cruise control gives you, if that's the only outcome you're looking for. But I just believe somebody tuned in because they want their relationships to go upward, to take more speed, to have more meaning, and actually ultimately to have more happiness. And to do that, it's a four-letter word, WORK. Just because you live in the same house or share the same kids or use the same checkbook doesn't mean you will feel anything for your spouse or person in the relationship. Can I talk to somebody today? Who is it that can say to me, you know what? Listen, I know you're talking to me. I've got a person that we are in this relationship together, but the reality is it's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere because of a WORK deficit. You have to work at it for the rest of your life. You don't get no vacation. Who am I speaking to? Child, I just need to get away from him. Well, I'm telling you right now, when you get away from him, you allow somebody else to get to him. Woo! Who am I talking to on a Saturday? Listen, this is some real talk. The reality is you have to work at it, and you got to work on it the whole time. Man told a young man, he said, how long do it have to be before I can start laying off this work in this relationship? So I was told that if you make it through year one, so you will be all right. So the man said when he came back after year one, the man said, I'm still having problems. He said, don't worry about it. He said, I think you worked the year three. When year three came, the end of the story is he never got to a point to where he could lay off. And that's what the old man was trying to tell him. Son, when you stop working, the relationship starts going downhill. That's the takeaway from the law of pursuit. You must pursue as long as you have a desire for it to work. Next slide, please. And then we have this servant's rule. The law of pursuit can be summarized by this. Marriage only works when you work at it. It requires energy and effort. Now watch this. The degree to which we're willing to work in a relationship is exactly the degree to which it will work. It's no magic. It's basic, a fundamental concept. Now listen, we are working to meet our spouse's needs, or in a relationship, our partner's needs, and their basic needs are much different than our own. And not only do we not share the same basic needs, we typically have a hard time understanding their needs. Listen, it's work. My friends, it's work. Don't let nobody sell you no wolf ticket. Talking about, listen, after you get 5 years in, you can pull the brake on it and put it on autopilot. They setting you up for failure. And I'm here to help somebody today to rip the bandage off this mindset that's causing your relationship, your friendship, your work relationship, or your godly relationship not to move forward. How many know that you don't get no break from serving God? The old folks had it right. They say, I'll serve him till I die. And that's what we have to do. Same thing. Next slide, please. After the law of pursuit, we have the law of partnerships. Listen, I want to tell you something. 3 critical factors that causes us to grow. First of all, our decisions are made without regret of our own emotions. Who am I speaking to? Just a ball of emotions. I mean, your emotions aren't in check nowhere. And I stopped by to tell somebody, if you don't manage your emotions will manage you. And they will have you all over the place. Unaccountability everywhere. But I'm telling you right now, when you're in a partnership, who am I speaking to? When you're in a partnership, our decisions are made without regards to emotions because our feelings change so regularly. The example I use to people is when I go to the restaurant and I eat to the buffet and I tell the waitress I don't want nothing else. I feel full. And then you check back 2 or 3 hours later, person going back for another night snack. Why? Because feelings come and feelings go. You don't make life-changing decisions on feelings. I've seen too many good friendships broken up by emotion. Now, we have to deal with the facts. And then secondly, the purpose of our lives is connected and mutually respected. Why are y'all existing? Is it to have a healthy, happy relationship? Well, that needs to be a mutually respected goal and purpose. Is it to have children, to have a family, to have a legacy? Well, you all in a relationship, these things have to be talked out. It goes back to that communication. And then finally, the third critical factor for growing in a partnership is we are growing in our relationship with Christ. I came on this Saturday to tell someone that you cannot benefit from spiritual concepts if you don't have the spiritual person. It is what I say to people all the time. You have to have the gift giver, even if you don't have the gift. And what happens sometimes is people want the gift, but they don't want the gift giver. Who am I speaking to today? That if you want a healthy, happy relationship, it has to be a triangle. It is the triune connection. You, your spouse, and Christ. If the triangle is broken, I'm telling you, you won't have that healthy, happy relationship. Next slide, please. And then we have the law of partnerships continue. We must share everything as equals. And I wanted to talk about this because there's so many schools of thoughts around this. When you don't have equality and people don't feel like they have a voice and a space in the relationship, it turns into what people call this dominating and controlling atmosphere. And I'm telling you, nothing could be any more negative towards sucking the energy out of a relationship and a partnership than for it to be one-sided. One person always got to have their way. It's their way or the highway. They're right and everybody else is wrong. Who am I speaking to today? The truth of the matter is, if you're in a relationship, listen, sometimes you got to use that C word. It's called compromise. All right. And so then God created marriage. And I wanted to tell somebody this. If you're in a relationship, it should be healthy and happy. Oh, I've seen people. You say, are you married? Child, yeah. Listen, something is wrong with that relationship if you don't have some healthy, happy experiences. It should not be equated to pain and suffering and no pleasure. When God created it, he told him it was to be pleasure and delight. It's in the book. The word Eden itself means pleasure and delight. And so I wanted to tell you, they were equal. They were complementary equals. And as such, they shared their lives in a peaceful intimacy as God designed. Next slide, please. And finally, the law of purity. We're just about finished. We're on good time. The law of purity. Watch this. It says the 4 don'ts on dealing with anger. I'm telling you right now that if you're in a relationship and you can't be pure and honest, I don't care who you are. We all have different DNA. And so we're not going to always see eye to eye. And sometimes a person may do something to just make you angry. Some people are so, they think it makes them look, stoic and pioneer if they don't ever get angry. But the Bible gives justification for the Bible says to anger. Be angry, the Bible says, but don't sin. So you should be in a place in a relationship where you can get angry. And you should be able to say to your partner, hey, look, I didn't like it when you did that. And you know what? It kind of made me feel some kind of way when you did X, Y, and Z. Because what you're trying to do is to promote communication. And part of the communication is to be able to say, hey, I ain't like it. But what you also want a person to be able to do is to be in a situation where they can be honest. Don't ever let someone tell you, say, oh, well, I can't tell them because they're going to get mad. Well, listen, what y'all need to do is work on the law of purity. And both of you need to agree that at the end of the day, if I'm angry, if I'm upset, if I don't like it, I should be able to say honestly in this relationship that I don't like it. Now, point number 2 says you can say you don't like it, but you don't go out and sin. Let me give you an example. So a person does something to you, and then you go right out and does some immoral or unethical thing because of something they did. That's not justification for you to go and do something that's ungodly. What we're saying is you should be able to be honest, but you also have integrity and some level of spiritual accountability around your actions. And then here's the big one. The Bible says, don't go to bed on your anger. I'm telling you, it's a big mistake, because sometimes, can I help somebody on this line today? You're not guaranteed that you're going to wake up tomorrow. And one of the worst feelings on this planet is the feeling of regret. Oh, I wish I could have did. And I'm telling you, life doesn't prepare us for do-overs. And so you have to try your level best to get as much straight before you go down. The good book says, don't let the sun go down on your anger or on your wrath. And then finally, don't give the devil a place in your marriage or in your relationship. There are many things, next slide please, that he would love to take advantage of for you as well. Next slide. And so what we find is the 4 steps. My final concept for today is when you have conflict, my friends, you're going to have conflict. And if you don't have conflict, I'm going to suggest to you that you're really not being honest, because the truth of the matter is none of us are clones, and we all have our own way that we see things. So when you have conflict, I hope you're taking notes on these. They're a game changer every single time, and they'll put you straight in the end zone. Number 1, confront in a loving and positive manner. You don't point that finger, but you got several pointing back at you. It is this term called altruism, which means that I'm going to treat this person with kindness just simply because that's who I am. Now, you can also talk about empathy, doing to others as you would have them doing to you. If you blow it, don't you want someone to come and give you another chance to? Of course you do. And so I'm asking you, if you have conflict, look, just do it in a loving way. It's okay to talk to someone and say, listen, I didn't like it when you did that. You know, I asked you to do such and such, and you had an attitude, and that didn't make me feel too good. All right. And then the next thing is learn how to complain and don't criticize. In other words, state your claim without pointing the finger at the person. They're 2 totally different things. You have what bothered you as one, and then you're trying to hold them in contempt, number 2. So it's better to say, listen, I had this funny feeling after you said what you said to me. You don't have to go into all their behaviors, because the truth of the matter is you're only responsible for your actions. So try to express yourself. That's what I mean when I say complain. Try to express yourself, but try your level best to stay away from that finger pointing. Listen, you did it. I'm doing it back to you. That's never going to yield itself to a positive outcome. Number 3, listen to your partner and believe them. Can I tell you something as a faith leader? I've counseled hundreds of people, and I'm telling you right now, what I found, 90%, there's a small window of people, but 90% of people just want to be heard. You'd be surprised at just saying to them. I had one time, they called me everything but a child of God. I'm closing now, but I want to tell you something. When they finished, I just simply said, I'm sorry you feel that way. They ultimately, I won their friendship. But again, you got to make sure that you don't talk over them and listen. And then finally, number 4, forgive and let it go. My time is up. And listen, I didn't say forgive and forget. Write this down, because sometimes you forgive, but at the very least, you ought to at least release their hold on you. God bless you. That's my time for this week. I want to thank you again. Next slide. You don't have to go into those. This real quickly. I got about 30 seconds left. I told you every week, I'd promise you on ways that you could show love to your partner. Number one, if you can go to the next slide real quick for me. Number one is, next slide for me, please. Show your approval by ways. When the last time you looked at somebody real sexy? I'm talking real talk to somebody. You in a relationship with somebody, every now and then your looks ought to say to them, I approve you. Y'all ain't gonna talk to me on this session today. Next slide, please. And then another way that you can show your affection is ask your partner to pray for you. And say, listen, partner, pray for me often. And I tell you right now, I got this little phrase. If they don't pray, they can't stay. Can I help somebody on this line? My time is up, but I want to tell you, listen, prayer changes things. And they don't need to have somebody if you can't have a prayer with them. Last slide. Is my time for you today. This is one last way that you can show your love. Next slide for me, please. Never mention today what was forgiven on yesterday. If you write that down, it will put you on a path to success. Let it go. Never mention today what was forgiven yesterday. That's all the time I have for you today. I want to thank you again. I want to ask you, continue to send in your topics to us as well. We're delighted. We're going to be moving forward as well with so many others. I am just delighted to be able to be an instrument to help you, God's people. It's my desire to educate, to empower, and also to expose these very toxic persons who are trying to manipulate your mind. But I'm telling you right now, I'm on an assignment to expose them and let them know that their days of manipulating good people are already coming to a close, because your best days are ahead of you. And I always close by saying, if you can't love all of me, then leave all of me right where you found me, because I deserve to be loved 100-fold. God bless you. Can I pray with you as we get ready to close on today? Kind Father, thank you now for a wonderful session today. We ask that you would be with us and be our guide, Father, as we move about throughout the rest of our day. Give us traveling mercies throughout this inclement weather. And above all, may the love of God be our portion on today. In Jesus' name, go in peace. We'll see you next time. God bless you.